Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing another Haakaa video. I love doing videos on the Haakaa. My one video has a ton of views and I've helped so many of you out with the Haakaa and answering your questions, and so many of you have reached out to me saying how much the video has helped you and has improved your breastfeeding journey, and I am so grateful that people are seeing my video and that I've been able to help so many of you with breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is something that I have struggled with throughout all of my babies. I have 3 beautiful girls and my youngest is currently 6 months old, and it is still a struggle. Up until I had her, I had no babies that latched and I was full-time pumping, and I think the Haakaa is really helpful whenever it comes to nursing, and I think it's one of the reasons why I've been able to actually breastfeed her this time around. The reason for that is that the Haakaa will suction onto one side while your baby can eat from the other side. And for a child that has latch problems or just doesn't really understand what they're supposed to be doing, this for me can induce a letdown. So the cup will start collecting milk, and as it's collecting milk, my other side starts to leak, and then the baby will latch on. With my other 2 girls, they didn't know how to latch properly. They couldn't latch properly. I have inverted nipples, which I'll show you how to use this with inverted nipples as well. And they just could not latch. They weren't getting anything out. And so with the use of the Haakaa, I can nurse my 3rd daughter. One of the questions I get asked the most about the Haakaa is how to properly use it and make sure that it is working to full capacity and it is as efficient as it possibly can be for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I use the Haakaa and how I get the most milk out of it. When I use this Haakaa, I will nurse my baby from one side, and the Haakaa will collect the whole way up to the top on this Haakaa. For some people, this might not necessarily be ideal because your baby might eat off of both sides. For me, it's not that big of a deal because it fills up, but then there's still some left inside that the Haakaa doesn't get out. I want you to keep in mind that this is not an electric pump and it is not a baby. So this is collecting anything extra that's leaking, but it does have a suction. So for some women like myself, it will draw out milk, but it doesn't get out all of it. So I'm able to nurse my daughter on one side. She can get 3, 4, 5 ounces on one side, and the Haakaa will collect 4 to 5 ounces. And then I can actually switch her over to the other side and she can still keep nursing on that side. It's not a problem for me. It could be problemsome for other people. So just keep that in mind if you are somebody that has to feed on both sides until you're empty on both sides. The Haakaa might kind of pull away from that. But if you're somebody where you can feed on one side and then you feed on the other side, and as you're feeding on this side, put the Haakaa back on the side that you've already fed from, and if anything else is still left over and starts leaking out, you'll collect that in the cup. So it's actually really good. That's what I suggest to a lot of people who have supply issues. Feed on one side, feed on the other. As you're feeding on your second side, attach the Haakaa and it'll collect the extra. Try doing that if you have supply issues, it may help. So now, how do we actually use the Haakaa? Because you can't just like stick it on and expect it to stay, right? So I'm going to go ahead and use a balloon to show you. So this is going to be our boob. So what a lot of people do is you squeeze it, put it over the nipple, and then let go, and it stays like this. That is great, it works fine, but I'm going to show you a hack that works a little bit better. So the step that you want to do first is fold down the flange like this. Next, you're going to squeeze the Haakaa as hard as you can, which I know can be a little difficult sometimes, especially if you got a screaming baby in one side. Then we're going to put this over top of the nipple. You're going to push the flange back into place and then let go. And it looks like this. You can see that has a lot more suction, and since this suction is so much stronger, it will work more efficiently for you. One thing that I also like to do is sometimes if I notice that there's not a lot of flow coming out of this, instead of having it look this way, I'll squeeze it like this, and it'll actually flip the Haakaa the other way. Sometimes this little bit of movement is enough that I will start producing more milk and it'll keep flowing. I do have a pretty constant flow, so if it's not constantly drip, 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 drip in there, then I will move this around and it kind of creates a little bit more of a flow. So then the next thing, once you're done, is I basically look down so that the Haakaa is vertical like this, so I bend over, and then I'll just put my finger in here and lightly unsuction it, and then take it off like this. And then we are good to go. So for me, like I was saying, I don't have normal anatomy. I have inverted nipples, so I don't look like this side of the balloon. I look like this side of the balloon, which doesn't really make sense to a lot of people that you can breastfeed like this, but you can. It's just very difficult. So whenever we were learning to nurse, I had to start with a nipple shield, and this was a process, guys. We started with a nipple shield, and I would express milk with an electric pump, a hospital grade electric pump. We would put it into a syringe attached to a feeding tube, and then the feeding tube would go under the nipple shield, and then we would have the baby latch. When she would start sucking, we would push out the milk from the syringe, and that way she knew that she had to start sucking. Over time, she got the hang of it, and now we're actually to the point where she can go without the shield at all. She's 6 months now, so it's a little bit easier for her to latch onto. But if you do have inverted or flat nipples, it's the same process. So as you can see, this balloon is just perfectly rounded. There's nothing sticking out at all. I'm gonna go ahead and use the regular method that you've seen people use and just show you the difference. So this is what it looks like when the Haakaa is just attached normally. It just kind of like bulges out a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach it the way that I usually do and just show you the difference and why this method that I use is just a little bit better than the traditional method. Now you can see, instead of it just kind of like bulging out a little bit, it really brings it in. So the reason that this is a little bit better than just the regular method of putting on the Haakaa is because when you put the Haakaa on, it brings the nipple to about like right here. And that can cause some problems if it starts touching the sides or anything like that. Any type of obstruction will prevent you from getting as much milk. And I'm not sure if you can see or not how well you can see this. When it's done with this method, it's actually pulling the nipple the whole way in to the collection cup, which means that your nipple is not actually able to touch the sides of the Haakaa because it is going down into the actual cup as like the cup is widening. That's where your nipple is. So for somebody with flat nipples like myself, this seems to work so much better, and I see a really big difference when I attach it just by squeezing it and when I attach it by having the flange down and putting it on this way. So that is my super secret, not so secret hack. If you are interested in purchasing the Haakaa, I'm going to leave a link in the description box down below. Please leave me a comment and let me know if you've used this, if you plan on using it, or how this video has helped you. Also, I think I'm going to do a video in the near future. I think probably at the beginning of January, I'm going to do another video on the Haakaa, and I'm going to run a giveaway where I'm going to give away 1 or 2 of these Haakaas. So if you're interested in following along and winning one of these, please consider following along because I would love for you to win one of these, and I would love to help you out more on your breastfeeding journey. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a big thumbs up, leave us a comment, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!